Okay, our third and final video for this section is going to cover SAT style questions for mean, median, mode, and range. So, we're going to look at several questions here, several SAT questions, 3 screens worth, over mean, median, mode, and range. Now, these are not necessarily SAT questions, but they are styled in ways that are very similar to the SAT and therefore should provide some insight into what to expect when you are taking the SAT. So here we have a histogram, which is really, it's just a bar graph showing the exact values of the number of seeds in each of 12 apples. Okay, so when we look at that, that tells us something we need to know. That tells us that our total, when we're finding our mean, okay, our average is, the total is 12. So what we do is we add up the data set. Well, the data set has 2 3s, 4 5s, I almost said that backwards, a 6, 2 7s, and 3 9s. Okay, so we're going to start by adding those up, which would be, let me grab a calculator to make sure I don't mess it up. We would add those up. That is a total of 73. And we would divide that by 12. So 73 divided by 12 is 6.083 repeating. Okay? So our mean is just over 6, meaning that the answer to the question is the best, is which is the closest? 6 is the closest. Okay? So that is what we should need to do there. And hopefully that would be quick, because remember on the SAT, you have between 1 and 2 minutes per question, and it is far closer to 1 minute per question than it is to 2. So on these easier questions, you want to get them done as quickly as possible to leave room and time in your schedule for the more difficult problems at the end of the test. Okay, here's another one. An example 6, this would be an example of a harder or a longer question. It's not really harder, but it is a longer question at the end of the SAT. It is showing us a total of 21 lengths of fishes. So 21 fish and how long they are in inches. It says there's an outlier measurement of 24 inches of the mean, median, mode, or mean, median, and range, which will change the most if the 24-inch measurement is removed from the data. Okay, so it's worth noting that this problem can actually be done a lot faster than actually figuring all 6 of those values, the mean, median, and range with the 24, and the mean, median, and range without the 24. Okay, it's very easy to do the range. Okay, the range with the 24 is 24 minus 8, which would be 16 inches. The range without the 24 would be 16 minus 8, or 8 inches. So the change in the range would be 16 minus 8, or 8 would be the change. So range is real easy to do real quick. Okay, we should be able to quickly go, oh, that's a pretty big change. The other one that's really easy to do is the median. Okay, the median would be the middle number in the middle row. It would be right here. So with the 24, the middle number is 12. It's this one right here. This is the middle number in that data set. When they're in order already from least to smallest if we look at the 3 rows. That's the smallest, they're getting bigger, and that's the biggest. Okay? The median without 24, if that box is not there, then your median would shift to here between the two 12s, which means it's really 12 plus 12 divided by 2, meaning it's still 12. That means there is no change. Okay, that should tell you immediately that with no change, the median has the smallest change because it does not change. Okay? So it's probably not going to be the right answer, and they definitely don't change by the same amount. So right there, at this point, you should be able to look at, okay, it's got to be either the mean or the range. Now, it shouldn't take too much logic to figure out that the range is going to be the one that moves the most, because when we change the mean, if we sum up all of those numbers, we do the sum and we divide by 21, well, if we add up all those numbers, which does take time, so hopefully you wouldn't need to add up all of the numbers to get there. But if you add up all of the numbers, the sum, including the 24, would be 262 divided by 21, which would be 12.48 approximately. And the mean without 24, well, you would just need to subtract the 24 from the sum and then divide by 20. So 262 minus 24 is a new sum of 238. And now there are only 20 fish, so divide by 20. The new mean is 11.9, which means the change is about 12.5 minus 11.9, or a change of 0.6. So which one changes the most? Okay, the mean is changing by about 0.6, the median is changing by nothing, and the range is changing by 8. Which one will change the most? That would be the range. And again, hopefully there's some shortcuts in logic that you could use to get there a little bit quicker, because again, we only have a minute or two to solve this kind of problem. And even if we've gone really quickly through the first half of the test, we still can't spend more than 2 minutes on this question. Okay, the third and final one of this particular lesson involves this frequency table. This is the age of 20 different students, so there's your total, that are enrolled in a college course. Okay, that means we're looking at a data set of 20 numbers here. Okay, and it's a frequency table. So remember, the frequency table is how many times this number occurs. So looking at 6 18s. And again, you do not have time on the SAT to write this out. You need to know that this is the data set that is being represented by that frequency table. Okay, that frequency table is representing the data set that I just wrote out. There are a total of 6 18s, 5 19s, 4 20s, 2 21s, 1 22, 1 23, and 1 30. So we sort of need to be able to compare the mean, the median, and the mode of those ages. Well, the mode should take 0 time to figure out. The mode is 18. It's the one that occurs the most frequently. The median, we have to think real quickly. Well, we've got a total of 5 right here. Those would cancel with 5 of those, which means we have 1 left, cancel with 1 of these. 3 would cancel. The median would be between 2 of the 19s. Okay, the median would be here. So the median would be 19. And then the mean is the one, if we actually figure it, that would take a bit of time to figure out. However, because of that 30, you can almost guarantee that the mean is going to be the biggest of those 3 numbers. So I am quickly adding up those numbers, and then we would divide that by 20. To get the mean. Okay, so the mean is 20. Well, 18 is smaller than 19 is smaller than 20, which means our mode is the smallest, our median is in the middle, and our mean is the largest. This means that the correct answer is A. Okay, now again, as we're going, we can cancel out some of these. Like for instance, right here, after we figured out what the median was, when we knew 18 and 19, that immediately eliminates that one. because the mode is not greater than the median. Okay? And again, when we look at this and we think to ourselves, gee, the mean probably has to be, because of that 30, because of this outlier, it's probably bigger than the minimum for sure. That means that the mean is definitely bigger than the mode. Okay? Which means D should have been eliminated relatively quickly as well. So even if you can't figure it out entirely, you ought to be able to use logic to eliminate one or two of the incorrect answers. Okay? Now in the actual SAT, it's a little bit harder to eliminate bad answers than that. But again, we need to be preparing ourselves logically to think that way, to use that testing strategy. Thank you very much for your time and attention.